It all started with a name on a map. I was planning a road trip to Washington, D.C. Nothing spooky, nothing intentional. Just a long drive, a 10-year-old history buff in the passenger seat, and a tired driver trying to avoid highway hypnosis. Then I saw it. Chapel of Ease. That name stopped me cold. Not in a ghosts are calling way. More like a this would make a phenomenal album cover kind of way. So I clicked. And just like that, a forgotten ruin on St. Helena Island slipped into our itinerary. Standing there later, in the low country heat, surrounded by salt air, oyster shells, and silence that felt heavy, I didn't know it yet. But this was the moment everything changed. This chapel didn't just tell a story. It taught me how to start looking for them. To get this place, you first have to understand its name. A Chapel of Ease. It sounds relaxing, right? Like a day spa for your soul. In colonial South Carolina, the parish church was the center of everything. But for the wealthy planters on the Sea Islands, getting to the main church in Beaufort was an all-day ordeal by boat and carriage. And God forbid the elite be inconvenienced. So they built these subsidiary chapels closer to their massive plantations. They were a solution to a problem of distance. Built in the early 1740s, this chapel in St. Helena was one of those places. It was a symbol of faith and of being fabulously wealthy, constructed from a bizarre local material that tells the story of this coast. Tabby. It's a concrete-like mix of burnt oyster shells, sand, and water. The walls themselves are a testament to the land and the enslaved labor it took to build this place. For decades, it served the island's richest families. But history doesn't stand still. And the very things that made this chapel necessary, its isolation and the plantation economy, would be the cause of its undoing. By the time we arrived, the storm had already passed. Wet roads, fallen trees, the air buzzing with gnats that made it very clear we weren't welcome long. But standing inside these walls, you can see the layers of time. You can spot patches where plaster still clings to the tabby, a ghost of its former glory. Local stories say its whitewashed shell glowed so brightly it was known as the White Church, a landmark for anyone nearby. But then the Civil War changed everything. When Union troops advanced in the fall of 1861, the planters fled St. Helena, and the chapel was abandoned. Legend has it a messenger burst in mid-sermon to warn them. After the planters skedaddled, the island became the center of the Port Royal experiment, a sort of rehearsal for Reconstruction. It's thought the chapel may have found a new purpose during this time, possibly used by northern missionaries who came to educate the newly freed population. But its second life was cut short. In 1886, a fire swept through and gutted the church, leaving only this beautiful, empty shell. It was never rebuilt. Now it stands in a state of arrested decay, watched over by the main parish. Next to it, the cemetery adds another layer. Weathered headstones from the early 1800s stand quiet vigil. The most striking feature, though, is the Fripp family mausoleum. An old diary supposedly described it as a fine affair back in 1852. But during the war, Union soldiers, hoping to find treasure, broke it open. That same diarist is said to have dryly noted it was now somewhat out of order. To this day, the entrance is bricked up, a permanent scar from a really bad day. It was these specific personal stories that fueled my obsession. I realized this chapel wasn't an endpoint. It was a doorway. This one ruin wasn't enough. It was a gateway drug. It made me realize that all across the country, there are places like this. Places where communities thrived and then just vanished. The chapels of ease were tied to a world of plantations and waterways that has all but disappeared. The culprits? War, busted economies, and sometimes the very thing we call progress. They left behind a morbid map of ghost towns and orphaned cemeteries. I wanted to find them. I wanted to see how the story of abandonment that started here echoed across the South, places I hadn't even found yet. And just like that, I had a new, slightly weird hobby. The chapel had shown me what to look for, not just ruins, but the reasons they became ruins. After visiting these dramatic sites, I started noticing the quieter markers of loss everywhere. All across the South, you can find them on back roads, small, orphaned graveyards, standing alone in a field, the church itself long gone. These cemeteries are often the last landmarks of vanished communities. Whether it's a grand ruin or a few lonely headstones, they're all doing the same job, holding a place in the book for a chapter that's been torn out. So why do we feel this pull? Standing back where it all started, at the Chapel of Ease, I think I'm starting to get it. These places are more than just sad stories. They're like a chalkboard that's been erased, but you can still see the ghostly outlines of what was written before. We see the ambition of colonial planters, the chaos of war, the hope of freedmen, the brute force of industrial dreams, and the power of nature. And if you go looking for these places, just remember, they're not your personal photo op backdrop. They are graveyards, sanctuaries, the last remnants of people's homes. Be cool. Visit with permission. Leave no trace. And understand that their stories are fragile and deserve to be preserved. And this chapel, this wasn't just a stop on a road trip. It was the first breadcrumb. My trip down this rabbit hole started with one ruin, but it opened up a whole world of hidden history. And I know there are countless more stories out there. If this journey into South Carolina's past resonated with you, maybe stick around and subscribe for more explorations. And I want to hear from you in the comments. What local ruins or forgotten places are hiding in your own backyard? From one crumbling chapel to abandoned cemeteries to abandoned ghost towns, the ghost towns of the South are more than just empty spaces. They're a history lesson that nothing is permanent, that communities are fragile, and that the past is never truly gone. It's written in the stones, submerged under the water, and hidden in the woods, just waiting for someone to come along and listen. My obsession started with an undeniable pull towards a single ruin, and it ended with a profound connection to the countless hidden histories that lie just off the main road, waiting to be found. These places are erased, but not cleanly. The chalkboard was wiped, but the outline remains. Forgotten Friday is about following those outlines, one place at a time.